am your host, as always, Mika Gatt, and I'm joined by my amazing panelists of Kyle Pucci on my left and Ayush Narayanan on my right. All right, guys, so let's start off just a couple NBA topics, specifically the Boston Celtics, who sadly had their season ended, was that a week ago, against the Miami Heat. So my question for you guys is, what do you guys think the Celtics should do this offseason? They get the 14th overall pick in the draft. I heard some trade rumors going around Gordon Hayward maybe to Indiana for like a Miles Turner and who else did they say? Well, what do you think, Kyle?
Well, first thing Celtics need to do is get an actual big man who can offer not just offense but defense too. I only want to trade Gordon Hayward if it's for Miles Turner because that's what we need the most. I don't want Oladipo on this team because it's just another mouth to feed. It's not going to help us next year if we just have another mouth to feed. What was the biggest issue this year? I'd say ego still.
We don't have a leader on the team.
Exactly. You don't have a leader. You had the Game 2 locker room explosion. We need a big man. Someone who you can actually worry about.
Ayush, what do you think?
I'm honestly not that big of a fan of Miles Turner. I mean, he's tall, he can block shots, but his effort is so inconsistent. Like some games you'll see he's just dominating, in other games he's getting bullied by people that are way worse than him. I don't think we should trade Hayward for like a guy like Miles Turner because I think Hayward's better than Miles Turner.
Really?
I mean, if we're gonna get, well, no, because he was a starter until he got injured.
So you want Marcus Smart coming off the bench?
Marcus Smart should have been coming off the bench.
I think he's first team defense. So
I agree with Ayush. He's first team defense, but his offense does not mesh well with.
I agree,
the
but
style Kemba Brown.
He had 6 3-pointers in one quarter in the playoffs.
Yeah, like he's streaky, but like
streaky, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because Hayward doesn't need to shoot the ball. Like he doesn't feel the need to shoot the ball every time he's open.
Absolutely.
He can drive to the hoop and get baskets in the paint. Smart just flops as soon as he gets in the paint.
Gordon Hayward is a great variety too, instead of just Marcus Smart, I feel like he only shoots threes. And I also feel, of course his defense is great, but what about the plays that actually do show up in the box score?
Absolutely.
Of course, like one quarter, I can't put one stock in that quarter against Raptors, right? Against the Raptors. I mean, that was more of a fluke than it really was him, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But what do you guys think, because 2020 free agency's coming up soon too, what about other big name free agents? Like I heard some couple centers. I throw the name Andre Drummond around a lot because from Cleveland, pretty good defensive player, and I think that's the piece the Celtics need to compete. What do you guys think, Ayush?
I think we should have been able to compete this year. I think it just all comes down to like our coach not having us ready to play, not having us be adaptable to the changes Miami makes, and then it also doesn't help when like Tice was obviously a mismatch on Bam. But when we don't actually help him and at least try to help him to put him in a position to succeed, he's gonna get killed every single game. We showed that game every single game. We just did the same defensive strategy in Bam, and it never worked once. True. We never tried anything different.
And yep, we got cooked all 6 games. You're correct.
What do you think, Kyle? What do you think about free agency this year? Anyone the Celtics should go after?
I'm not sure how much I like Andre Drummond, to be honest, because what is his free throw percentage? Low 6.
All right, well, Shaquille O'Neal didn't have a pretty good free throw percentage.
The difference Shaquille O'Neal to Andre Drummond. That's the most dominant center ever.
You can't put him in at the end of a game, though. Say in a close, you can't put him in unless you're trying to defend it. Like a game-winning shot, say like a lob or something. Well,
not end of the game. If anything, we just bench him and then we go with our small lineup.
Well,
yeah, but we're gonna have to pay him at least $25-30 million.
Well, we still need an offensive threat for a big man. He's not a threat offensively.
And we don't have cap space.
No, Tatum's
gonna need $30 million. Hayward, if we trade Hayward, it's also gonna have to be for draft picks because we can't bring in a guy who's making more than $25 million.
So Drummond, who's really he's not gonna ask for that much. Come on, he played on Detroit and Cleveland his entire career.
He's still the best rebounder in the
Turner
league.
Making.
Well, Turner, he takes his playoff. He takes the Pacers to the playoffs every year.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, pretty much.
Victor Oladipo and DeMontis Sabonis have been the 2 best players on that team.
Well, I heard Sabonis also may be on the table. So
yeah, Sabonis I heard too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty nice, but I think that. after the NBA Finals comes in and the NBA draft starts, there's a couple good picks coming up, like a couple good prospects. Got, of course, the third and youngest ball member, a couple like Anthony Edwards from Georgia, Jameis Wiseman from Memphis. So should be a fun draft.
Well, can I also say the reason we need a big man who could play defense?
What?
Look at all the big men around the East. There's still Giannis there. There's Embiid, which now has Doc Rivers. I think that's because I think Doc will kick him into shape now and actually get him to play every game.
Maybe Ben Simmons too?
It's about Embiid, okay?
All right, I'm just asking.
Then there's Giannis. Adebayo looks like he's a threat. What are we going to do? We can't go forward with a guy.
Offensively, there should be no team that should be able to stick with us if we play the best we can play.
Well, I think the Nets next year.
We have four players in our team that can put up 20 without a problem.
Well, you also have Kyrie and KD who are capable of dropping 50 in a lot of games.
But, did you hear what they said about Steve Nash? What Kyrie came out and said about Steve Nash?
Oh God, awful.
I think that team's just gonna kill themselves, shoot themselves in the foot.
In the playoffs, absolutely. When it comes to playoff time, I don't trust the Nets.
It's gonna be a repeat of what happened with Durant and Westbrook. They just didn't know how to share the ball with each other.
I hope you're right.
As a Celtics fan, that is what you pray for. Yeah. So let's move on to the second topic of the day. I think we'll leave basketball a little bit to the side, and we'll talk a little bit more about football, which is right now in its prime of playing. So let's talk about the best team in the NFL. So a couple teams that are 3-0 right now and doing pretty well. Kansas City Chiefs, of course. You got the Seattle Seahawks. You got the Green Bay Packers. Got Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Then there's teams that just shouldn't be there, such as Chicago, for example, most notably, and I think I'm missing one. So, and then there's teams that are 2-1, but are still, it could be the best in the NFL. So what do you guys think? Well, pretty much a quarter season of the way into the season. Who's the best team right now? Who's the most dangerous team, Kyle?
I have Kansas City. I just think that they have such an explosive offense with Mahomes. You got the receivers, you got Hill, then there's Kelsey. Now they have that kid out of the draft, Edwards-Helaire, so that now gives you a threat from the backfield. It's pick your poison. It's so hard to defend them. And their defense also looks better than it was last year. I know they're not putting up mind-blowing, turnovers, but I think they're number 5 in the league right now in secondary defense, so that'll work, especially when you have an offense that good.
Well, my question for you then is, Kyle, first game they did great, absolutely against Houston, and then Baltimore. What happened against the Chargers game? Barely won with a super long field goal against a bottom feeder in the NFL.
Well, if you look at Mahomes' career numbers against Kansas City, they're not that great. In case you remember,
against the Chargers, you mean?
Against the Chargers, yeah, and I think you have to factor in too how they thought Tyrod Taylor was going to play that game right before. And so you prepare your defense for one quarterback, then after. He gets hurt literally right before the game. They're warming up. He gets hurt, and then they have to stick another quarterback in who's also a rookie, and you've never even seen him before. So that was a big curveball, I think.
You can say everything you want about the defense, but the offense put up a total of 20 points that game.
It's a bad game.
That's what I'm saying. Mahomes, I believe, is inconsistent. In the playoffs, he's the most I'd take Mahomes in the playoffs over anybody, but I don't know. He's not undefeated. He's never really had an undefeated team.
Well, who has an undefeated team except Brady?
But the weapons that he has around him should allow him to be undefeated with Andy Reid.
He won MVP his first year, so he has to have been consistent that year.
That year, absolutely.
Not consistency. It's just he has these quarters where he doesn't play well, but it doesn't really matter for him because in one quarter he can put up 28 points with no problem. So it doesn't really matter if he has one bad quarter.
Yeah.
And against Chargers game, he doesn't need to play well at all because that team was not good.
Well, you can't just go into a game and say, I'm just not going to try because this is not a good team. Ayush, that's not what Andy Reid's going to tell him. You know what, Pat, I want you to, try a couple of checkdowns, give the ball to Helaire, and then we'll call it.
Obviously, Andy Reid's not going to say, you can take this one off, but Pat Mahomes can just do whatever he wants basically because he's probably the most talented quarterback to ever play the game.
I can see that. That's a fair argument. He's young, so I want to see how many years he can do this for. But so who do you think, Ayush? What's the best team in the NFL?
The best team in the NFL right now is probably Seattle, but that's not going to hold because Wilson's not going to keep playing like this. He's had to play perfect for all 3 games just for them to win. Mm-hmm. The only thing he could have done better was the interception against New England, but that was the receiver's fault because he tipped it right into the.
Just to add on what you said, Seattle through 3 games has the worst passing yards given up in NFL history.
Absolutely.
That just lets you know how good Wilson is playing.
I mean, he does it every year,
Well,
right?
that's true, yeah. But, I mean, just in the Cowboys-Seattle matchup last week, I'm pretty sure both secondaries just played absolutely horrendous. And I think, Lockett had 3 touchdowns in 1 half, which is just unheard of.
Oh, I know.
And then, the Cowboys never had a good defense. So they didn't necessarily play good secondaries also. Just Patriots, no disrespect to the Patriots secondary, but that literally came down to a 1 possession, 1 yard away drive where Seattle easily could have lost that game in overtime, but the Patriots decided to throw the ball. To run the ball, not throw the ball. But who they play game 1? Oh, Atlanta. So, I want to see Seattle take on a real test and a really good team to really make them the best team in the NFL, I think.
So you don't think the Patriots are a really good team?
No, I think the Patriots are a great team. I think the Patriots, I'm really excited for this weekend's matchup against Kansas City because it's in Kansas City, but I think that if the Patriots can go to Kansas City and show Patrick Mahomes what they're made of, that might be a AFC Championship game matchup. You never know. You never know. So, my point of view, best team quarter season of the way in, based on the weapons they had, based on the teams they played, it's the Green Bay Packers.
Of course.
It's the Green Bay. It's
you
the
say that.
Green Bay Packers. So let me just break it down for you. Game 1 in Minnesota. So
Who's 0-3?
Who's 0-3?
but
Exactly.
at the beginning of the season, they were 0-0. Both teams running that game 0-0, and everyone was giving the Packers.
Okay, no,
criticism.
Pucci. Since we beat the Dolphins, that's a good win because they were 0-0 too.
I agree.
Oh, but they're 1-2 now, so they're probably better than the Vikings.
Didn't the Vikings made it?
Yeah.
The Vikings made it to the divisional round last year.
Who cares what
Who
they did
cares?
last
They're
year?
not good anymore. They lost their whole team.
How did they?
How does they lost Linval, Joseph, Daniel?
That's defense. They didn't lose
Their defense is their team.
Except for Stephon Diggs.
You're facing Kirk Cousins, and he stinks. He's
Kirk
not good.
Kirk Cousins is inconsistent, very inconsistent. I'm just saying that you never knew because everyone was giving the Packers absolute criticism for not drafting a wide receiver. You know this. Well, they picked Jordan Love, and then they picked A.J. Dillon. They didn't need a quarterback or a running back. They have the 2 Aarons, Jones and Rodgers.
Do you remember the whole defense that the Vikings lost last year? They have no more Rhodes. There's no Linval Joseph. There's no Everson Griffin. And
That's their 3 of their 4 best players right there.
3 of their 4 best players.
Trent Williams, too. He went to Cincinnati.
Trent Williams.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then but now they lost Anthony Barr to a season-ending injury just recently. But
And don't forget, they lost Michael Pierce, who they signed in the offseason.
Yeah.
That's true. But they also did get Yannick Ngakoue, and they still had the Harrison Smith, the Anthony Barr.
Barr's gone.
Well, when they played the Packers, no. Eric Kendricks. You had the defensive end that I'm just missing his name right now. Along with Ngakoue. They still have a decent defense. It's a defensively coached team. But I'm not saying the Packers. That was a solid win against Detroit at home. A gimme, obviously, but in prime time against New Orleans, where Kamara I don't see much improvement in this defense, honestly, from Green Bay. Kamara scorched them. I think he's what did you say? Of all wide receivers in the NFL, he's 3rd right now. Is that what you said?
He's 5th in the league in receiving
fifth in the
yards.
league.
No, but the thing with Kamara, he's 5th in the league in receiving yards. All of them but 1 have come after the catch. He's only had 1 catch where he's gone past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost every single one of his catches is behind the line of scrimmage.
Okay, but
and he still gets.
They're all
20.
screens,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, but you're going to tell me that a bad team is going to go into the Superdome, where, by the way, that was the first game that fans were allowed to come in. And I know there was no Michael Thomas, but don't forget, there was also no Devontae Adams. And, I feel bad for Alan Lazard because he just had core muscle surgery yesterday. But Alan Lazard, undrafted rookie out of Iowa State, 163 yards, 1 touchdown. And he scorches that defense. Rodgers finds weapons that just are nobodies because the Packers didn't provide him anything really over the offseason. And compared to Russell Wilson has DK, he has Tyler Lockett, he has that running back committee. And
Okay, so where was Tyler Lockett and Chris Carson drafted?
but they're good players, aren't they? They're not injured.
You're telling me Valdez Scantling and who's the other guy they have?
Equanimous St. Brown.
Okay, well,
Yeah, Kyle.
don't tell me do not come out here and tell me Valdez Scantling is a bad player.
Are you going to compare it to DK Metcalf? Go ahead. Go compare him to DK
I'm not
Metcalf.
comparing him to DK
what I'm
Metcalf. But
saying
you're
is
acting like he's a Walmart cashier.
He's not far from it.
You're saying that Rodgers finds weapons out of nowhere. Carson was a 6th round pick. Lockett was a late round pick.
Aaron Jones was a 5th round pick.
Yeah, you can almost every team has those players, not just the Packers.
I'm not saying, but those, at least in Seattle, those are well-established stars right now.
Yeah, but they were late round picks. They were found from
I'm not
nowhere.
talking about when they're drafting. I'm talking about right now. The quarters, 3 weeks into the season. I'm just saying that the Packers, they had 2 road games and 1 home game. I just think that they, so far, have played the toughest competition.
Who cares about the row when there's no fans? All right,
Yeah,
can we be honest
New
here?
New Orleans had fans, though.
Dude, New Orleans is not the same. You can't even hear yourself talk in that stadium. All right, well, normally.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers pump faked them. It just proves that there's no factor right now.
I mean, the Packers
fans.
defense still is currently playing like they did like 3 years ago when they had like Julio going for 200 yards in the playoffs.
Okay, what about what the Saints did? What about their defense? They made Derek Carr look like Joe Montana on that Monday night game.
What do you mean, against
Yeah, Derek
Raiders?
Carr had like a 75% completion rate, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns or something like
Saints don't look too good right now.
Okay,
I know
but-
you're talking about the Saints.
Okay, but
Drew
I'm-
Brees should have retired. He's washed. He's done.
He's not
Oh,
done.
okay. I think with Michael
that. No,
Thomas.
but like if you look
he's
at the
good.
Raiders, they go into New Orleans or they play New Orleans. They
It
look
was at
like
home. It was at home.
yeah, they look like they have one of the best offenses and like maybe top 15 offense in the league. They come to New England and they just they
They mess up the game
mess
plan.
up the game plan.
Okay, the point is, when you open a new stadium, pretty much what I've seen through watching football for a long time, the Rams, first day of their stadium, SoFi Stadium, they beat the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Chargers, week 2, opened the stadium, they barely lost to the Super Bowl champs. Vikings, when they opened the stadium, they won. Falcons, they won their first game. So I think that there comes a little bit of pride playing the first
Who do the
game of
Rams
game.
play?
Oh my!
Rams play the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
I
Cowboys
mean-
are 1-2 right now.
They should be
Cowboys-
0, and they also should
They
be
should be
0-3.
0-3. They're-
Okay, well, the Cowboys did play Seattle and
No, like
Los Angeles.
they should have like
And they
don't
should
look-
have lost to the Falcons, who are natural-born chokers, just like that onside
yeah,
kick.
Yeah, that was just. I think it's first time ever that I think Falcons blew 2 14-point leads in the fourth quarter.
It's just a joke.
It's a 16-point
Flippin'
leads, yeah.
joke.
Unbelievable. Like I honestly think that Dan Quinn last year he should have been fired. I mean, they did have a good second half of the year, but this year he has no excuse. I'm sorry, you cannot do what you did in Super Bowl 51 and every single regular season game. It's just not gonna give you success in the NFL.
It just
Nope.
Super Bowl 51's still in their minds. You can tell. Like every time they get a
know.
lead, you can tell they're like.
I don't
You
know.
know,
I don't
they've
know.
never had-
Hey,
still
they've
there.
never been the same team since that Super Bowl.
God. I don't think they really get on the field with a
That's what
lead.
Tom Brady does to you. He shocks you for life.
Well, speaking
Number
of,
one on the field, number one in your hearts.
Well, speaking of Tom Brady, Tampa Bay played New Orleans week 1, and that New Orleans defense that you're just talking about, they had a pick 6 on Brady. They had played really well against the Buccaneers, who are right now 2-1. That's their only loss.
It was Brady's first game as a Buccaneer at a new
And he
offense.
played awful.
After
he
20
played.
years
You
of
saw the
playing
throws. The pick 6 and his 2 picks were awful throws.
I'm not okay, but the defense still was playing really well. They really held Brady till like.
So if I throw a pass to Pucci and he's on the other team, is that good defense?
So Mike Evans was playing on one leg in that game too.
No, that was at the end of the game, Kyle.
Still that game.
What do you
No,
mean? Mike Evans had one catch.
Oh,
There's a
not
reason
Mike.
for
I
that.
didn't mean Michael. I thought you said Michael Thomas.
No.
I thought you said
No,
Michael
no.
Thomas, my bad.
That's also another thing. Michael Thomas is half their offense.
Yes.
You could say
Okay.
Devontae's important, but Michael Thomas is their whole passing game.
Yeah, well, without him, I agree. It might be a little bit more thinned out.
Because Sanders is their number 2, and he has no chemistry with Breeze. And then after that,
Against
it's
the Packers, he had his first touchdown of the year. So
he had 2 catches for 20 yards. It's not act like he had a good game.
okay, I'm not saying he had a good game. I'm saying that he's trying to build his chemistry up.
2 catches for 20 yards is like not even. That's like a 3rd string, 4th string receiver number. It's not your wide receiver 1.
Wow, it's better than Alton Lazard's numbers. I mean, no, worse than Alton Lazard's numbers. All right, but let's just we're still on this NFL topic. Let's say right now, quarter season MVP, and I'm pretty sure we're all gonna pick of the teams that we just picked. I'm pretty sure we're gonna pick the quarterback. Kyle, go ahead. Who do you think's the quarter season MVP?
MVP is Russell Wilson.
Not close.
It's not even close.
Not close.
He has the worst passing defense in NFL history on his team through 3 games. He has 14 touchdowns to 1 interception. All right, and that 1 interception came when Greg Olsen dropped the ball against the Patriots, and then there they go the other way for a touchdown. Russell Wilson is the MVP. It's not even close.
What do you think, Aish?
It's not close. Well, he has the record now for most touchdown passes through 3 games.
He does.
He holds that record now, and I mean, like, Tyler Lockett, like, he's not really anything special. He's fast, but that's about it.
I mean,
Like,
he's not. He's a good player though.
he's a good. I'm not saying he's not a bad. He's not in a Pro Bowl or anything.
No, but I mean, him and DK make a really good wide receiver duo. Then throw in that running back committee still.
No, well, like you look at when you watch the Patriots games, like the deep ball to DK, if that's anywhere else, that's Gilmore's gonna knock it away.
The one on you go to on the one Jason McCourty.
That was
you can't do anything about that. It's
just-
too good.
It's just perfect. In my opinion, he's the best deep ball thrower in the league.
Yes, I agree. No question.
Okay, so do you guys have any ideas who I think is the quarter season MVP?
I really don't.
Any ideas? No ideas?
I really hope it's not a guy that's got carried by his running back against the Lions.
Well, you know who I think is actually the quarter season MVP? I think it's Cam Newton.
What?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you guys did not see that
man,
coming. I think it is Cam
Seriously?
Newton. I think Cam Newton. Now let's back up. Russell Wilson finished second place in voting last year. Let's
He
remember
didn't
that,
get a
right?
single vote.
Okay, but he still finished second place. He was
It's
still
an abomination. Like, how do you not give Russell Wilson a vote?
Are
with
you
this?
not going
I
to cry
agree.
about last year? We are done with last year.
It truly is the apocalypse.
But let's agree. Every single NFL team in the offseason was like, this guy's washed. Cam Newton is absolutely garbage. We don't need him. And he was a free agent for how long? Injuries piled his entire career. He didn't do anything. And then Belichick's like, you know what? We'll sign you for less money than Jeff Driscoll. We'll see. Let's see. I think he gets less money than Blaine Gabbert and Jeff Driscoll. He's literally getting paid pennies on the street. He could be a Walmart cashier for all we know. The point is, he goes into New England and he has to first beat out Jared Stidham for the starting job. It was not guaranteed for him. It really wasn't.
Are you just kidding me
I'm
right
not.
now? Are you kidding?
I listened to Belichick talk about how he feels about Stidham.
Belichick made Tom Brady feel like he didn't have a secure starting job.
It wasn't hard to put Newton over Jarrett Stidham.
Okay.
He's been inactive because he's been so bad.
But we can agree that Cam Newton came into game one with not the expectations that we assumed Cam Newton had a couple years ago. Cam Newton, the first 3 games, honestly, he had 3 really good games. And if he beat Seattle in Seattle, don't forget, that game was in Seattle. If it was in New England, it'd be a different story.
I'm not saying that he's like
If
Seattle. He had an awful throw for a pick. Like,
Well, here's the
it
thing.
was supposed to be to an outside, just threw it right to the cornerback. Like, that was an awful throw.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but if the Seahawks right now are 2-1 and the Patriots are 3-0, are you still going to say Wilson's the MVP?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
The only reason we would have beat the only reason that game was close was because of Wilson. Like, and then
who did Cam Newton have on offense? That's Edelman.
Okay, our rushing game had 250 yards against the Raiders. How many? I think we had another.
Rex Burkhead? I mean, you're really going to compare who's better, Rex Burkhead or Chris Carson?
I'm not saying that, but we had 250 yards of rushing. It's not the amount of players, it's the amount of yards we had. Our rushing game was unstoppable against the Raiders and the Dolphins.
Cam Newton was horrible last week. In the first half, he stunk it up. They were.
I mean,
For sure, comeback player of the year,
throws
fine.
were just
Comeback.
off.
He can become, Newton's probably the front runner for comeback player of the year, but MVP is like, no. I don't think
That was a bad interception, too.
I just think
that was brutal.
compare the teams they're on. Compare the receivers that Cam Newton plays with just the overall weapons.
Did you say Mahomes doesn't deserve to be MVP?
Well, I'm not right now. No, I'd say
Well, last year then. Or 2 years ago, he just doesn't deserve to be MVP
50,
because
50 touchdowns, you deserve to be MVP. 50 touchdowns.
Okay,
come
so
on.
Wilson's on pace to throw six
Oh, so
70 to 60
when I
touchdowns
see that
something
happen-
like that.
When I see that happen, I'll call him the MVP. But I do not see that happening. I just don't. There's no way. Same thing like Calvin Ridley right now is the best receiver in football. There is no way he is Chris Godwin version 2. I do not see it. That team is Julio Jones. Right? Same thing with the Seahawks. That team is not going to be undefeated or like 15-1 to end the season.
No one's going to be undefeated. Like, this doesn't happen.
I mean, they're not going to be 15-1. They play in the NFC West. That team, Russell Wilson is going to have bad games, whether you guys want to hear it or not. He is. And Cam Newton is going to start proving people wrong because think about the different expectations the 2 quarterbacks had, Newton versus Wilson. Like, I mean, you have to admit that I'm kind of...
Cam Newton right now is maybe 10th in MVP race. Like,
because he hasn't done much through the first 3 games.
yeah, so why would you pick him as your MVP then?
I agree that he played great in the Seattle game, but in the Oakland game, we all could have been playing quarterback in that game.
God,
How many yards did they run for in that game? 250?
No,
Come on, you're just handing the ball off.
Say that to Ryan Tannehill.
Well, yeah. Ryan Tannehill's is system quarterback in Tennessee. It's all Derrick Henry.
I think he was a really good quarterback over in Miami.
Oh, he was terrible.
In Miami, as a rookie, like not rookie, but the first couple years.
Ryan
The
Tannehill
year
was
they made
awful.
the playoffs is when Jay Ajayi had like 3 200-yard games in a row. Like, he was going
Tannehill
on.
was still playing really well. He was a decent quarterback. He was a above average quarterback in the NFL. Above
The year they
average.
made the
Matt
playoffs.
Moore was better that year.
No, well, that's because he got injured.
Okay, Matt Moore was not better than Ryan Tannehill.
yeah, that just didn't happen. That's because he got injured. Obviously, you're gonna have. But I'm not talking about that year. I'm talking about even earlier because I think Tannehill was drafted in 2013. So it was earlier than that. That I think Tannehill was just, I'd say, a better player than we think that he is right now. Now, when you have Derrick Henry, all you do is just hike. Here you go, and then go ahead. I mean, like that, I can see that everyone's doing. But I think right now, if Cam Newton goes into Kansas City, right, Kansas City, and he comes out with the win, who is the best team in the NFL? And
Us,
who's
without a doubt.
The Patriots.
The
okay?
Patriots.
So do you think Cam Newton then is in consideration for MVP?
Well,
Well, it
Depends how he
depends what he
plays, yeah.
does that game. If they hand off the ball and run for 250 yards, I can't give Cam Newton credit for
what
that.
if Cam Newton's the one running the ball?
But if he has another Seattle game when he throws for 400 and rushes for 50, yeah, he's the MVP.
What if he has Lamar Jackson type numbers where he runs for like 100 and
Well, Lamar Jackson's not doing anything this year. Like,
Oh, I meant like last year Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson was a fluke last year.
Everybody
we
knew
all
Lamar
know
Jackson
it.
wasn't going to do 2 years in a row. I mean, who did he play? He played the Browns.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, who did he play week 2?
The Texans. Do
Oh,
not get me
Texans.
started. The Texans are not good. Do
Yeah.
not say they're good.
I'm not saying they're good. They got Bill O'Brien. If
Cam Newton's not the favorite. Is not going to be a favorite for MVP just because he has been inconsistent.
I think no, he's inconsistent. I think that right now.
He said one full good game. He's like not even full, like one good game out of the 3. Like the Raiders game, that first half was probably one of the worst pass of football the Patriots have played in a while.
I mean,
that
Cam
game
Newton
should
was
not have
good
been
week
close.
1, but he ran the ball. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's not like we're not going to put a big stock into Miami, okay?
I'm not saying Miami.
That game should have been a blowout if
team.
Harry didn't fumble the ball on the 1 yard line.
Exactly.
I'm not saying Miami's a good team. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying that Cam Newton is definitely getting a lot more respect because we were thinking that Cam Newton. Be honest, when the offseason happened, we were all thinking Cam Newton's going to come in there.
I told you we're gonna go 11-5.
No, I think-
I said that before. I said 11-5.
Okay, maybe I used it. I think didn't you say that they were going to get Trevor Lawrence?
I wanted them to tank for Trevor Lawrence,
so
but that was
that's-
before they got Cam Newton.
Well, even with Cam Newton, a lot of people still. Belichick signed him for 1 year.
Oh, come on.
Like,
Bill,
it was high risk, low reward. That's what it was signed for. That was the deal was literally high risk, low reward.
if Jarrett Stidham were if he were starting on this team right now, they'd be 0-3 without a question. I wanted them to tank for Trevor Lawrence.
They wouldn't lose against the Dolphins, Kyle.
Come on, Jarrett Stidham is terrible. Stop putting.
Not worse than the Dolphins.
He's awful. Stop putting stock into him.
We've never even seen him play, so like I mean,
That's
there's
true.
point to both
You
sides.
can't have a Belichick-led team in New England that's going to be terrible.
No,
Kyle.
he stinks. He stinks.
Kyle, they just give the ball to Rex Burkhead, or let's say Edelman plays quarterback. You'll have Edelman go around routes and doing pitch
Come
plays.
on, man. Jarrett
Also,
Stidham.
N'Keal Harry's actually played surprisingly well.
He has.
Yeah, give him the chances. I mean, he's a first-round wide
I
receiver.
mean, what
It
is
makes
he has
sense.
like 20 catches already on the season, which is probably more than he had his
first-round
rookie
wide
year.
receiver. It makes sense. As a first-round wide receiver, you should be playing pretty good defense.
Cam Newton targeted N'Keal Harry 12 times in week 2, which was more than Brady threw to him at any point last year.
Yeah, like look
Like
Brady.
combined every
That was
game.
the
That's what
one-
Brady's doing with Mike Evans. 2 1-yard touchdowns. That's his net. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. That's it. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 2 yards.
Well, because they're giving him the
good.
fades. He's a big receiver.
I'm saying, yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. So that's right now for the quarter season. That's what it looks like to be MVP voting. But of course, we're going to come back to that topic during the middle of the season, especially towards the end of the season. So that about wraps up episode 2, or whatever, episode 2 of Unpopular Opinion. So once again, if you guys want to throw in some topics for us to debate, link is, as always, right up here, as it is. And we might be having a couple guests come in here and there, a couple changes to the show in the future. But we really thank you guys for watching the show, and we really hope that you enjoyed it. And I am, as always, your host, Mika Gatt, with my fellow panelists, saying we'll see you back here next Friday. Thank you, everybody, very much. Have a great weekend.